So this cosmic manifestation bewilders this living entity. Why? Because this living entity is like a prison house for the souls who are having an independent mentality. माइक जगत है जीवेर कारागार जीवेर बहिमुख दोष दंड प्रतिकार because a living entity forgotten supreme personality of Godhead, so he was punished to live this material life. जीवेर बहिमुख दोष because of forgetfulness of supreme personality of Godhead, who is suffering this material life. What is bhaimuka dosa? Bhaimuka dosa, there is two kind of thing, antarmukha, bahirmukha. Antarmukha means when a living entity is aware about Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaimukha, when living entity is not aware about Supreme Personality of Godhead. When living entity is working for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he will be said to be antarmukha. Who is said to be bahirmukha? When living entity is not acting for the pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then why is this happening? Some living entity is working for the pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead, some others are not. Those who are working for the pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are called bhaktas. Bhakta who are fully freed from material affinities, who are not affected by material world, are called pure devotee, Suddha Bhakta, Nitya Mukta or Nitya Siddha. So those who are in the spiritual kingdom, which is entire kingdom, spiritual and material, if 100%, then 3/4 portion or 75% is spiritual world, 1/4 portion is material world. So those living entity who are having this bahirmukha dosa. What is bahirmukha dosa? Let us understand. Some living entity want to enjoy like God. There are two kind of enjoyment actually. One is bhakti sukha, other is bhukti sukha. Lord is Sachidanandamaya. Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sat, Chit and Anandamaya. A living entity is also Sachidanandamaya. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Supreme Personality of Godhead is infinite and living entity is infinitesimal. So mean in quality living entity is same, in quantity it is minute. One is complete absolute punnasya punnamidah punnamevasishyate. So any amount of whole, complete whole you take out, still Supreme Personality is remaining as complete. He is absolute in everything, so he is absolute in all pleasure. He is always pleasurable. With Sachit Anandamaya Sukha. Eternally, cognizably, and supremely blissful. There cannot be anybody more blissful than him. He is the absolute reservoir of all kind of tastes, happiness, or rasas. Living entity always entitled to offer services to Supreme Personality of Godhead through the process of bhakti. By that, he will be able to release more happiness from Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it is possible that some greatest devotee like Radharani can have more happiness than Krishna himself. That is indirect happiness. Just like a mother get more happiness by feeding the children than she herself eat something. If eating is an happiness, if it is sometimes we get more happiness by feeding others. When we see somebody is hungry, we feed them, then we get more happiness. A mother always get more happiness by feeding her child. So that is indirect happiness, which is even greater than in this material world. We can see when we become selfish, then the happiness is less. When we are more generous, and with the generous idea, when we do some charity activities, we get more pleasure. Bhakti Sukha is the process of surrendering oneself to Supreme Personality of Godhead. By surrendering to Supreme Personality of Godhead, one get more happiness than one might get by independently enjoying. So this sense of independently enjoying material happiness is called Vahirmukha dosa. And in order to facilitate a living entity to independently enjoy his desires, there is a need of creation of material world. This entire material world is called causal ocean, where Karanataka Sai Vishnu sleeps. There is a partition between spiritual kingdom and material kingdom through Viraja ocean. Beyond Viraja ocean, the spiritual kingdom starting from Sadasiv Loka, then Vananta Koti Vaikuntha Loka, then Golak Vrindavan is in the topmost. And below Viraja ocean, the entire cosmic manifestations of material world is called Karna ocean. Many unlimited universes that comes from the armpore of Karanadakasai Mahavishnu floats on causal ocean or Karana ocean. In that way, it is like in a bucket of water, if you put one handful of mustard seed, they will float like that. In the causal ocean, many unlimited universes, each are very big in size, some are even bigger than our universes. Many universes are floating in the causal ocean. In each universe, there is Garbhodakasai Vishnu in the bottom, and in the top, Kshirodakasai Vishnu. So in every universe, there is Garbhodakasai Vishnu. Karanadakasai Vishnu, one for entire material creation. Garbhodakasai Vishnu, one for each Brahmanda, each universe. And Kshirodakasai Vishnu enters into every living entity. So he is one for each living entity. Like this, Lord presents in every living entity, everywhere, and everything is sourced from him. Aham sarvasya prabho matah sarva pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samannita. Those who are intelligent, who are self-realized person, who are called really a pandita, they know that everything is coming from Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of everything. Bhoktaram Jagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheswaram Sruhudam Sarvabhutanam Gyantamam Santim Ruchyati. Those wise Pandita devotee who are very much sure that Supreme Personality of Godhead is the real enjoyer. Anything, any yajna, any sacrifice we should do, or any activities we do, should change that to sacrifice as a surrenderness to Krishna, because he is the real enjoyer, and we can enjoy Bhakti Sukha when we offer him enjoyment. That is called indirect enjoyment. That way, we will be sourced from unlimited treasure of milaus or happiness that is present in Supreme Personality of Godhead. We need connection. Just like there is a river flowing, we need canal to bring the water from river to each field. Similarly, through the linking process of yoga, when we link ourselves to the ultimate treasure of all happiness, then those happiness can come and flood ourselves with sufficient love of Supreme Personality of Godhead. With that, we can dance with ecstasy. Nam nache, jiva nache, nache premadhan. Jagata nachaye maya kare palayan. So here is the role of Maya, which contaminate the senses of a living entity in impurified state. It always desire of independent ownership, independent happiness, personal sense gratifications. However, through the process of yoga, one need to purify his existence and get the unlimited treasure of happiness. So here, what is called phantasmagoria? Let us understand that the illusory external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates phantasmagoria for the living entity, those who want to independently own certain things and independently enjoy certain pleasures like Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of everyone, and everyone to be a devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead. When three-fourths living entity are self-realized, are wise, they remain devotee of Supreme Personality. Godhead, one-fourth are not wise. They wanted independent enjoyment. So in that conditions, those who are aspiring to independently lording over material natures are they are not entitled to do that. So they wanted a shadow representation. So Lord created a shadow representations or reflections. What is fantasy? Fantasy means when somebody dreams about something, whether at sleeping conditions or at daydreams. Suppose one is very much fond of cricket, you say. He may dreams that he is playing like a great player, hitting every balls, and is becoming famous. Everybody is praising him. He has become a celebrity. He can get this fantasy in his daydream, but there is no existence of it. Or you may sometimes think that in dream that you think that you see that tiger attacked you. You are running, but you are not able to run, and tiger jumped over you. Tiger is started eating. Once the you are screaming with fears. Once the dream is broken, then you realize that oh, you are not harmed. Similarly, the living entity who is in the state of self-realization can see he has a siddhadeha. देखते देखते भूलिब बा कबे निज स्थूल परिचय नयन हेरिब ब्रजपुर शोभा नित्य चिदानंदमय. Our Guru Maharaj used to sing very melodiously this song. देखते देखते भूलिब बा कबे निज स्थूल परिचय. This identity in this material world is called Sthula Parichaya, gross representations with material body. When we can forget this material identity, when we identify ourselves with our Nitya Siddha Deha, so we have a spiritual body. The soul, which is Satchidanandamaya, is covered by the subtle matter in this material world called Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara. This Mana, Buddhi and Ahankara represented to the souls, or soul represent to this body through consciousness. This consciousness activate Mana, Buddhi and Ahankara through three modes of material nature, Sat, Chit, Sattva, Raja and Tama. With this living entity act with variegatedness of false sense of ownership on various subjects. But when he come to the realized state, he will understand it is just like a bad dream. See, a self-realized soul like Dhruva Maharaj sees that I am part and parcel of Lord, eternal devotee of Lord, eternal servant of Lord. See how that I entangled my life in this bad life, bad dreams. Just like you have to come here being a male or female, you have to work so hard, you have to earn money, you have to keep in bank account, you have to safeguard of your money, you have to buy some houses, you have to buy some cars, you have so much of the responsibility, you are so much entangled, and you are always worried of these things, that thing, this should happen this way, that should happen that way. So many worries, so many problems, so many tortures in material world. Everywhere, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, and other living entities are suffering, your neighbors, your friends, all are due to enviousness, are creating so many worries, troubles, and anxiety in front of you. This way you are always, suffering. Being a male, you have to work so hard with the attachment with wife, children, and etc. Being a female, one has to remain so much engrossed in homely life, husband, children, they have to take care of so many things, and they have to expect a lot from your son, from your husband, from your kid. Things are not happening the way we want, and you are worried. But when you see outside, in the Nitya Mukta state, when you are self-realized, when you are not bondaged in this, you see that you are not of this body, you have a different body. And you yourself is devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have a permanent identification like Gopasakhi, Gopasakha, or Gopa, Pita Mata, or in the Santarasa. You have a particular relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you have a particular type of body through which you are serving Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is called Phantasmagoria. At this state, you will realize that you are falsely identifying with this body which you are not. This body is given you for this purpose of Bahirmukha dosa, and it's like a punishment. It is like in jail, one imprisoned person is given certain kind of life, certain restricted way of living, cannot go to the outside world, and he gradually develops the realization that because of my not myself not being abide to the laws or regulations, I have been punished. So it's the same way when we realize that because of the forgetfulness, Bahirmukha dosa, not realizing Supreme Personality of Godhead, I myself desire to become like Supreme Lord. So try to enjoy with selfish desire and now fall in trap of this. Let me purify myself from this contaminated state and go back from this state. So this state of a self-realized devotee in this cosmic manifestation is temporary. When he practices Krishna consciousness very seriously, he will be very easily come out of this state of phantasmagoria. That is the reality. So when a living entity sees the higher truth, test the highest pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rasavarjo rasapi rasavarjo rasapi param dushta nivartante. When he enjoys higher bliss, higher happiness, he gradually detaches from this lower happiness. So retiring from this family life and all sense of belonging is required. So Dhruva Maharaj left his kingdom, and his kingdom was like everything all over the world, earth. No matter how much bank account you have, how much money you have, like Elon Musk or Bill Gates, you might have lots of money, but you have to retire from them, engage all these for the service of mankind, and retire from all these opulences you have acquired with great labor, day and night working for earning money. But one day you should retire from this attachment. Then only you can go to the science of self realization. You can realize the truth and you can do the best to yourself, the spirit soul, who is part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then you have to consider this body, deha, geha, parijana, putra dara, deha, geha, parijana. Tavadasi Das. They are all the servant of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tavadasi Das. So with this, one has to surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead and being freed from this. Similarly, Dhruva Maharaj retired from all relationship, all opulences, all wealth, and went to forest, and he continued his spiritual practices, austerities in the Badrikashram of at Himalaya. Then what should be the goal of a pure soul, a living entity in this phantasmagoric world? One has to understand what is this death? What is this birth? What is this janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi? What are these conditions? This death is just like sleeping. When we sleep, we forget, we dreams. Similarly, this can be a longer sleep, 3 to 7 months. Then we will get another body, will identify in the womb of mother or in other living entity form, whatever as per the laws of karma. Death means another janma jata sahi dhruva mrityu, dhruva janma mritasya. And janma means bandhan. It is written bandhan here, not bandhan. Janma bandha. Janma bandha binirmukta. This word is there. Janma bandha binirmukta. Every living entity has to be freed from this bandhan of janma. As soon as we bind to one body, then we are affected by the laws of karma. That karma affect the soul, and the soul consciousness is called contaminated conscious. The senses are at in purified state through the mana, buddhi, and a false identification with that body, ahankar, the soul is bound by the karma. So he is entangled and he is entitled to live a duration where he finishes this reactions of this body at this particular period of time. One should learn how to purify the existence, the senses, so that the activities of this body do not affect him. That is the process of self-realizations, the practice of Krishna consciousness. So one must get help of sadhu, guru, shastra by taking this opportunity. This life has a great opportunity. Arthadam, tadapi arthadam. Durlabham and arthadam. In other form of life, one may not have this opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. Like animals or trees, in this life, you don't have any chance to practice Krishna consciousness. So that is not an opportunity. But human life is an opportunity where you can get help of sadhu, guru, shastra. माया मुग्ध जीवेर नाही स्वतः कृष्ण स्मृति और स्वतः कृष्ण ज्ञान जीवेर कृपया कृष्ण कैला वेद पुराण. For that reason, Lord Krishna given us scriptures, and he also sent sadhu guru. By taking their help, being Chaitya Guru inside and being Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru outside, as well as through the Vedic literature, Supreme Personality of Godhead extend opportunity to us to purify our existence and go back to Godhead. So when we get this state of purification, our body, which is situated, like the soul being situated in the body, is guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Soul is like quantum of the existence, which spreads all over the body. Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is sitting within the heart of the living entity, gives direction to the living entity. He helps everyone to remember and to forget the things. Mataha smrutir jnanam apohanam cha, and act in order to do his activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead only assists a living entity to perform his activities. Smruti, Jnana, and Apohana. Sometimes forgetfulness is required to free living entities from moha, from illusion, from anxiety, and from deep suffering. Without forgetfulness, one person cannot sleep, cannot recreate. And remembrance is required when living entity changes from one body to another body. You can see especially animal, you can see as soon as they take birth, they learn how to eat food, how to being protected. It is all instructed by Supreme Personality of Godhead to every living entity. And gradually, in the course of time, living entity become entangled with the body, and with false identifications of this body, he acts in impurified state, affected by the modes of matter nature. So this level of interaction with the body by the spirit soul is called consciousness, are various degree, covered, sunken, budding, blossomed, or fully blossomed state. Covered consciousness are like all plants are said to be covered consciousness. Shrunken consciousness are all the living entities, uh, animal kingdom, birds, beasts, they are shrunken conscious. and human being are body conscious. Those who are advanced in practicing science of self-realization, so devotees are blossomed consciousness, and pure devotee are fully blossomed consciousness. See, this evolution and devolution only possible to human being. Other living entities only have evolution to higher towards from covered till budding consciousness. As a living entity enter into budding consciousness, it has the possibility to get evolution or devolution. So fully blossomed consciousness can aware of even other living entity, but Supreme Personality of Godhead is aware of every living entity. A living entity is only aware of his body. So with this, a living entity interact with material modes of nature with the consciousness, and sometimes he feels happy, sometimes he feels moroseness. As one progresses in purifying his existence through the linking process of yoga, he gradually realizes that he is part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then his activity is based on that he has a relationship with Lord Siddhadeha. He has also the identification, he has also his own dresses, everything can be realized, realized by a pure devotee when he practices Krishna consciousness. So this song written by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Dekhite Dekhite Bhulibo ba kabe Nija Sthula Parichaya. Nayana Hariva Brajapura Subha Nitya Chidanandamaya. So a devotee aspire that he takes birth in Brajapura or he lives in Brajapura and get his particular identification through which he can serve Brajagopi Bhava. Brajagopi Bhava হইবে স্বভাব আনভাব না রহিবে নিজ সিদ্ধ দেহ নিজ সিদ্ধ নাম নিজ রূপ সবসানা রাধা কৃপা বলে লভিব বা কবে কৃষ্ণ প্রেম প্রকর যমুনা সলিলে আহরণে গিয়া বুঝাব যুগল রাসা প্রেম মুগ্ধ হয়ে পাগলিনী প্রায় গাইব রাধার আশা. This state is called Manjari state, being servant of Radharani. Gopi Bhatu Dasa Dasanu Dasa. The first class devotees, there are various categories of Gopi. Our Brahma Madhya Gaudiya Sampradaya are in the mood of servitude where we serve to the divine couple Radha and Krishna to manifest this Nitya Chidanandamaya, the love of Godhead, which is Nitya Chit Anandamaya. Nitya means Sat or eternity, Chit means cognizable, knowledgeous, Ananda means pleasurable. Nitya Chidananda Maya. When Nija Siddha Deha, when we act knowing ourselves as Dasi of Supreme Personality, maybe Dasa, maybe Dasi, maybe friend, or maybe parent of Krishna. With we will have a particular name, we will have a particular spiritual body, we will have our own dress. With that, one meditate on Supreme Personality of Godhead and enter into the pastime of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Always engages in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is called the fully blossomed state, completely free from all material contaminations. That is the goal of human form of life. One has to free. At this state, one can see that he is affected by phantasmagoria of this body, and then he do not become worries about these turbulences of the body. Hare Krishna. Any questions?